viewers, nice for tuning in again. It's your boy Chris Beto. On this channel, I share my experience and story of other people working and living in Japan. But before we get into the video, do me a favor by clicking on the like and subscribe button. Okay, so let's get started. It's your boy Chris Beto. So in today's interview, we get into the story of Mr. Awah Jeol from Cameroon, who is currently studying for PhD at Sophia University and making it possible to raise kids in Japan. So let's get into the story of Mr. Awah Jeol. So Joel, can you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi, Chris. Great is my delight having me this moment on your channel. I am Awah Jeol from Cameroon, currently studying at Sophia University in the Department of Global Environmental Studies, PhD. So it's a privilege to be on your channel today.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Awah, for that brief introduction. So I'd like to know how you could manage to bring your families from Cameroon to Japan as a student, and like how do you maneuver about that? How did it go in terms of the application process?
Okay, thank you very much. Uh, students are in categories and it depends on how many years you have to study in Japan. Uh, My case, I had 2 years to study for master's program. After the master's program, I went into the PhD program for additional 3 years. So immediately I got into the PhD program for 3 years. I decided to bring my family to Japan. So it's pretty easy for a student, you know. You just need to get the right things, put the right things together, submit them at their immigration, and then before you know it, their eligibilities are out. So I had to apply immediately. That was 2021. I I went to the immigration, directly to the immigration, and asked them how possible it can be for me to bring my wife and two kids here in Japan. And of course, they said, "Oh, it's okay, very easy and normal for you to do it." So they gave me a list of requirements, which we did this together and
Yeah.
we filled the forms and get the required documents and submitted. And before you know it, in the maximum time is 1 to 3 months, but this took me just 1 month to get the eligibilities, and that was it.
Wow, that was great. Yeah, I remember we filled the documents, and yeah, it took about 1 month for the immigration to give us reply. So, in terms of the application process, what do you think was one of the major difficulties that you faced?
I think if you have the right documents, you will not face any difficulty in Japan, unlike in other areas, other countries where you find it very difficult and a very long process. The first thing is you need to have the right documents. In this case, for example, I needed documents to prove that I am married, documents to prove that I am the father to the kids, and documents to prove that they have they needed their birth certificates and passports to show that at least they can travel within the time I want them to travel. However, there is another aspect of it. You, as a student, if you have a scholarship, it is pretty very easy for you. But if you don't have a scholarship, then you need to provide some a bank statement that shows that you have some sufficient funds in your bank account that can permit you to sustain a family in Japan. In that case, you also need to prove the source of that income, the income you have in the bank account. So you should be able to have worked in Japan for some time, or maybe when coming to Japan, you brought in some cash or some money, and you have to prove that this is how you manage to get the money you are going to take care of your family. So that's it.
Yeah, wow, I see. So it's pretty straightforward once you get the right documents.
Of course, it's straightforward. However, it might be somehow difficult for people who have short time to be
Be
in
in Japan.
Japan. For example, students who have just 1 year, you have to be in Japan for at least 6 months and above to apply for this. So 6 months and above, and you have just 1 year, you understand, you will have just maybe 5 or 4 months to finish your program, and they will need at least somebody who has a long period to
Of
be in
stay.
Japan,
Mhm.
maybe 1 year and above, it is very possible for you. But if you have just 6 months I don't know, but it's still possible. I don't know. You depending on the reasons
Okay.
you have to provide.
Yeah, so the family left Cameroon, now in Japan. Yeah, I think you're really happy to have them by your side, which has been your main goal. So, how is it going? How is it currently in terms of being with the family, maneuvering the system, managing school, managing family, managing part-time job?
So it has to, uh, being called a parent doesn't depend on just put into birth. It's a responsibility. Wherever you find yourself, whether in Africa, in which part of the world, you need, before you are called a parent, it is in the upbringing of the child, not to just to put to bed and you say you are a father or a mother. It's a responsibility. But in Japan, I think it's, I cannot say it's totally easy. This will be doing injustice
That's
to
true.
those who face challenges,
Yeah,
the challenges that are there in Japan. But I
that's
must
true.
tell you, uh, the challenges are overcomable.
Yeah.
The challenges are overcomable. The first challenge we've been facing is that of communication. Unfortunately, I am a slow
In learning languages. Hmm.
language learner,
Hmm.
and this makes it difficult for me to fully integrate into the Japanese system
Yeah.
with the language barrier. But then the system is such that you can always have a way out. For example, uh, you understand that there are a lot of paperwork in Japan, but where I find myself or where I live in Ichikawa Prefecture, the city office makes provision for volunteers who speak English and who can help people who don't know how to speak the Japanese language. So, for example, when my family came in, there was a volunteer that had to take us even to wherever we want to go to see that he does the translation for us to be able to integrate into the system.
For
So
free.
for free, this
Hmm.
was free of charge.
Yeah.
So, and most of the times they make it very clear, when you face difficulties, please come back to us and we will readily and happily offer you the services you need. So, and they do that for free. So I can't say the challenge is unovercomable. No, you can overcome the challenges. But then, like you must know, it is difficult on the side that Japan, when it comes to paperwork, you receive paperwork almost on daily basis, and this
Yeah.
sometimes makes it some sort of hard. But then, if you want to look at the short-term goal, you will say, this is so challenging.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need to
Must
get
think
back.
long term.
But when you think of long-term, what you envisage for your children,
Hmm.
you may want to consider having your family here with you in Japan.
Wow. That's good. So, in terms of the main difficulty that you face in Japan raising kids here, if you have to say something, it would be like the language barrier.
Oh, it is the language barrier, but also coupled with the fact that, as you know, I am a student. I have to also consider the family. I have to do
Time
part-time jobs,
jobs.
and this makes it sometimes, if you are not properly organized, you sometimes feel very, very it's difficult.
Yeah.
You feel like I'm exhausted with this
So,
workload, but then it has to do with
time
proper
management.
time management, and
Yeah,
then
time management skills.
time management skills, and you having it in your mind that the purpose I'm doing this is because I want a brighter future for my family.
Yeah.
So when you have that motive at the back of your mind, I think it keeps you going and it gives you the strength to go along.
Wow. Great. So, if there's something that you knew you should have known before bringing your family to Japan, what would be that one thing?
Ah, that is, it's really difficult for me to say if there's something I would have known, because I am somebody who is so close to the family, and whenever I don't have my family beside me, I feel like every other thing I'm doing is useless. I want to see my kids grow around me. I want to see my family remain united and strong, and any other thing that comes out of that, I don't consider it. So no matter the difficulty, I feel that I was well informed. Of course, I consulted with you a number of times, and you know the type of services you render. I consulted with you a number of times and consulted with some few friends. who helped a lot before me bringing my family here. And I think we don't regret or think that there was something we needed, something very special we needed to know or to do before coming here. Of course, it's not been that difficult that I would say up to now. That it's been a major challenge. I don't think so.
Well, I get it. So I'm looking at the long term, as you said. You do not want to look at the short term, because if you look at the short term, it's gonna discourage you um uh, with what you're currently doing. So, in terms of long-term perspective, do you think like your communication with the kids is going to be affected in any way? Because of course they are being raised in Japan, and I think their main language will be Japanese. And currently, you do not speak Japanese, or really not fluent in Japanese that way. So, when the kids are big, do you think like there's gonna be some communication gaps or challenges that you're gonna face with the kids?
Oh, uh, I don't think so because we do our best back home to make sure that we maintain our language of communication, which of course is first of all English.
English.
We make sure that they keep on with the English language while the school takes the responsibility of teaching them Japanese. I must tell you, speaking multiple languages is a plus for whoever has to speak it, and it opens more doors for you than somebody who is mono language directed.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
uh, I don't think it will be a big challenge. Of course, if they have to stay here to speak the language for that long, I should also be able
To
to
learn,
integrate
yeah, yeah,
and learn
yeah,
how to speak
for sure.
the language. So I think it would be a plus for all of us,
That's true.
not just having some barrier. Of course, I love my local language, and so sometimes, like my wife takes that as a responsibility
Mhm.
to also try to speak the local language to them so that they will not lose their origin.
That's true. The
We are
originality, you need the originality,
yes,
right?
we are
Their
Africans.
roots.
We are Africans. We are Cameroonians, and we will remain that, and we will always remember our origin.
Yeah. Wow, that's a powerful one. No matter where you go, always remember home. You must always remember home. So the father does not want the children to forget their roots, because their roots is their identity, and
Exactly.
their identity is the most important for them. So
Exactly.
yeah, wow, that's a very good one there. So I think a lot of people watching, the audience, maybe people watching from the US, people watching from Cameroon, from Nigeria, from Kenya, from Ghana. Some people looking forward to coming to Japan with their family or to stay here long term. What advice do you have for people who plan to come to Japan?
Oh, Japan is an interesting place. It is among the 10 most secured countries in the world. It is advanced in a lot of things, and of course, you would like to encourage somebody to come to Japan, especially coming in with your family. I must tell you the truth. Saying that you will not face challenges will be injustice to
Injustice.
the difficulties some parents are facing in Japan. But I will also say that it gives you more guarantee of a brighter future for your children. And so, if you want to come to Japan, make up your mind that your family being in Japan will yield meaningful results
In the
in
long
the
term.
long term. You should not just look at the short term and the challenges you are facing. Of course, even wherever you are, you should be facing challenges of
That's true, of
you should
course.
be facing the same challenges of seeing what to do with the kids before, like combining work and raising family and the rest. These are almost the same challenges we face. The additional one in Japan might be the language, but of course you can always, when there is a will, there must be
Be
a
away.
way. So obviously you will be able to do that.
Yeah.
But it all boils down to personal decision
Mhm.
and your reason of deciding to move to Japan with your family.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. So staying in Japan long term, if you're thinking in that perspective, is good. But now, if you're thinking short term, it's easy for you to give up. That's what you mean.
Yes, of course, of course.
Okay. So what do you really like about the Japanese systems in terms of raising family? If there's one thing that you really like about the system, or this, what you like about the system, and you think that we Africans we could learn from Japan and maybe somehow implement it back in our home countries.
I might like to use the case of Cameroon in particular. In Cameroon, your child will stay in school maybe for 5 to 6 hours or seven, something like that, and the rest of the responsibility, the heavy part of the responsibility, is on the parents back home. But in Japan, it's almost the opposite. The idea is that the parents have to work to be able to take care of the children, and so the system makes sure it also plays other roles that you were supposed to play like a parent. For example, the health of the child is monitored by the school together with the municipality, and you are only informed that you might need to check if something is wrong with your child in this direction or not. And of course, the health is free. It's free of charge.
Yeah.
They do that for free, and that is so interesting that you are assured that your child is growing in a very healthy way. That is a plus for Japan. And also, the children don't go wayward. They are restricted from doing what is not morally correct until they get the age of maturity, maybe from 18 years, before they have the right to do certain things. This
Wow.
is spelled out, and the children are groomed in such a way that they have to respect those rules. This makes it, you as a parent, you know that your child is in good hands. You are not afraid that something negative or the child will learn
Yeah.
something bad. All the children have to respect these rules. And also to say that as a foreign child within their schools, there are provisions for special attention on the child,
Mm-hmm.
considering that this child
It's a
is
foreigner.
is a foreigner,
Mm-hmm.
and there are strict laws and principles on bullying. So if you bully a child, especially a foreign child within the school system, then you will have to go down for it. No matter your age, your parents will take the responsibility because that is not allowed. So this gives the children also some confidence that they are at equal level with
Yeah, yeah, with the
the Japanese
Japanese.
children.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they do their best to see that you can integrate in the language. They give free language lessons to parents,
Mm-hmm.
mostly on weekends. So if you want to learn the language very quick, as an advantage with the children, you can do that for free.
Wow.
But on another side, also, you need to know that there is this aspect of the stress of everything has to do with time. You have to be time
Conscious.
conscious in
That's
whatever
Japan.
you do. So if you think that your child delayed you and you get to work late, you might find yourself not being able to work because you have, when you are supposed to be at work, you are going to be there. The work doesn't know whether you have children or
Or not.
not. Your job doesn't have to consider that is your personal business.
Yeah.
So this sometimes makes parents like frustrated in trying to make sure that the children are where they are supposed to be at the right time, and you being at work at the time you are supposed to be. So sometimes, yeah, you find parents, or it's almost everybody, running all the times to meet up with time. So
Wow.
the time factor
Yeah,
is
that's
highly
true.
considered here.
That I can relate. It's really true. Yeah. So if there's something we could learn from Japan as Africans, what would be the one thing?
The one thing we have to learn is the fact that we believe that what we always call the blank man time is one of the highest factor that brings us back.
Yeah.
So there is nothing like blank man time, and that time is the highest contributor to our success. And most of the times we misuse time, and that is why some of us, I am sorry to say this, end up being useless. So on the side of raising children, children in Japan are given responsibility on almost all the time. They spend their time in school, and even on Sundays. This makes them more focused on whatever they have to do. And there is also a system right from the basis, from kindergarten.
Yeah.
They start monitoring to see which talents these children
Can
have,
have
and they can tap in these talents to develop a child in the
in that
talent
direction.
in that direction. So
Yeah.
this makes it very positive, and that is why I say they perform multiple functions rather than just teaching the basics that we know,
Mhm.
teaching the children the curriculum and the rest. So that is what we should learn from. We can learn from that. We can learn from that and improve our own system back in Africa.
Wow. So if there is one thing that you wish that could be corrected or could be maybe made more better in Japan, the system, what would be the one thing to make it more better?
Yes, if you ask me one thing, I know who are we to make a recommendation. But however, one never knows because just a word can change an entire policy. But the one thing we can say is that there is a lot of too much paperwork in an era where technology is very high and developed.
Yeah,
I think Japan should look into their system of excess paperwork and digitalize almost 90% of what they do rather than just 20% and most of it being on paperwork. Sometimes the paperwork is boring, especially to foreigners, you know.
that's true. That's true. I can really relate on that. Yeah, but a lot, Japan is doing a lot on that already on the ground. There's a lot of groundwork, and you can really testify from that because currently you can apply for certificate eligibility
Of course,
online. You
yes,
can do
yes,
many things now online,
yeah.
my number card and everything. So yeah, I think they are going into the digital world.
Yeah,
So
they
yeah,
are already there. They are
yeah,
there. So we just like being frustrated still using the
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 papers.
papers.
Mhm.
You know, when you are frustrated on something, you are looking on whoever to pour it on. It's not like the system is not doing. They are
Yeah,
doing their
the
almost best.
best. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but we still think that their best is not enough
No
to address our challenges for the
challenges.
moment. For the
That's true.
moment,
That's true. Thank you very much for being on the show, Mr. Awah Jeol.
great,
It was really a pleasure having you today.
great is my delight. Great is my delight. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you for watching. If you like my video or interested in Japan, do me a favor by clicking on the like and subscription button. See you in the next video.